Welcome to Around Town, featuring what's happening here in the greater Concord area. I'm your host, Dick Patten. It's a pleasure to welcome you back as we get ready to celebrate February, as we look forward to buying that special Valentine, or see if we lose a bet with the groundhog, or better yet, the Super Bowl's coming up. But either way at all, we're still in the middle of winter. Still waiting for that big, massive snowstorm. But either way, I am pleased to have Rob Dion as my guest today from Executive Wellness. Huh, Rob? That was your name of your company?
Yeah, that's the name of my business, and I started so long ago that it was Executive Wellness Personal Training.
Yeah.
Prior, and it was new, so I did steal a portion of that name from the executive in Manchester,
Really?
just to give myself some local recognition, because exercise at the time when I started was still a new and upcoming thing.
Now, you're located down on Hall Street, right?
I'm down on Hall Street, just after the New England Motor Freight Plaza, and the same plaza as Adams Lock, the Concord Business Plaza.
Oh, see, I didn't think you were there.
And there's actually 45 businesses in there.
See, I thought you were further up there by the hotels and the other areas. So, were you up there one time at that area?
I was up in that area.
That's what I thought.
For a bit, but then I really like this location. I was at this previous location before, had moved down, and done some training at what's now Core Fitness, and I've been on Main Street. But now I've been in this spot for, I would have to say, about 6.5 years or so.
Yeah, it's working out well for
and
you.
I really like the space. So it's 3,000 feet, and it's like 20-foot ceilings.
Oh, wow.
So it makes it so it's a good open environment for exercising.
So how many people are coming in there? Are they members, or are they just anybody who walks in?
Well, I do a two type of system gym. You have Planet Fitness in town for people who are just starting in fitness and who want to do cardio and treadmills, or in it for the social engagement fitness, I call it. So they go and they want to do a lot of friends at their club. Not that we don't have camaraderie, but we're not about that type of programming as much. More about serious fitness.
Yeah.
I do a lot of personal training. It's a lot of what my original business was, and what I've kind of niche marketed myself in this business is. And I probably train right now about 45 or 50 local Concord residents.
Wow.
Most everybody who's on my agenda has either had some type of medical problem. In my early 20s, I had a really severe three-wheeler accident myself.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't look very old.
Well, I'm almost 50.
You are?
Yeah, August. So... But fitness will keep you feeling good, Dick.
Gosh, I guess so. I had pictured you about 30, maybe 35, or 32, or something like that.
Well,
I never hit 50.
Well, I can appreciate that. So,
yeah.
But I've known you for almost 15 years, so I've
Really?
been around for a little while.
Yeah, I'll be hitting 64 this July. So.
But yeah, so we do a lot of rehabilitation, knee replacements, hip replacements, recovering from different surgeries. Right now I have a client who's had brain surgery. She had prongs put in her head for essential tremor disorder. But she's still working out. She's still fit. She looks great, actually. And she's 80. My oldest,
80 years old?
80 years old. And she's been training with me now for, I think, 16 or 17 years, for a long time. And then my oldest client is actually a gentleman from Kentucky, and he's 90. He just turned 90 years old.
Goodness gracious!
So and he does quite well. And then I trained Adam Young when he was trying out for the Giants way back in the day from Concord High. So I trained guys that played pro athletes, the Barker kids for UNH. So we do have, and then during the day till about 3 or 4, I'll train people, and in the evening it kind of changes over to well, my gym used to be in the Obashan building where I had a lot of big guys and power lifters. I used to be the state powerlifting chairman. So I still like that type of lifting.
Chairman or champion?
Chairman. So I would hold a contest and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've coached some champions, and my wife was a national powerlifting champion. So I've had quite a bit of experience in the sport. I've never been a champion, though I can pick up a lot of weight. But in the evening, it is definitely the pick things up and put them down type of gym. So it does have quite a bit of diversity. We have a lot of young athletes in there at night. Different people who have been lifted for a long time, but don't want to be in a crowded atmosphere. So, and we do all like metal weights. I probably would have to estimate I have close to 10,000 pounds of weight in my gym. So it's a lot of steel. But it's been a rewarding, been a great rewarding thing. I actually started out in the computer business. My first ads were computer geek turned jock.
Really?
Yeah. So it's been, and the Concord community has been great in the support of health and fit. They include me in things like people will ask me for gift certificates. So I can participate in the fundraising. I don't have a lot of time, but this way it still gives me a chance to give back.
Sure.
So I mean, I'm a Quantian, and I'll work at the fair, and I'll cook the burgers at the car show, and I'll bring my kids up to sing at Walmart with the kettle, which is fun. Except for my singing, I guess no one appreciates.
You poor baby. In other words, you haven't cut a CD lately, huh?
No, I won't be cutting any CDs. This will probably be about my media experience for my lifetime.
You know, you mentioned back a few seconds ago there about some people that come in, and you said something about people with medical, like knee replacements. So, in other words, after they've had the surgery, then they come to see you.
Right. I've actually worked with people before and after surgery.
Because I've got to have 2 knee replacements, and I'm holding off. And then I've got a right foot that I've got to have major surgery on sometime this spring. If I can hold off till after the legislature, but they claim my right foot has completely collapsed, and I have no arch now. I saw the X-rays, and it goes right down through like a river. There's a separation there, and I just am. Supposedly when I have the surgery, I'll be off my feet for 4 months, and then another 4 to 6 weeks in a boot or something there. But so, what do you do with something like that?
Well, with something like that, probably your first step would be to go to a physical therapist for a while.
Yeah.
And I would suggest probably pool therapy, because your muscles are going to atrophy with that much time off your feet.
Really?
Yeah. What happens is your muscles. If you're not using them, they slowly go away. That was one of the things I didn't. I had 3 surgeries on my arm, and it was about. It really drove me back to exercise because it had atrophied, and it didn't have much use of it. And that was the beginning of my real big push. I had always been athletic, and to no longer be athletic, it caused a much more powerful drive in my spirit than I had previously. So in that, with your knee replacements, they'll have you up walking pretty soon. Are they doing one at a time or both?
Well, we haven't got that far because all of a sudden the foot came up, so now that's going to take precedence over these knee replacements.
Well, I could see that. I would get the foot.
And then I'm going to have an MRI Thursday because it's my lower right back now. I've got like the advanced stages of spinal stenosis.
Stenosis?
What's that? I'm trying to
the spinal stenosis is actually a calcium buildup in your spine as we get older. And the best way I usually describe it to people so that they can understand it, it's like a 10-speed bicycle brake. Your nerves, everybody thinks the nerves in the body is like hair. right? They think they're fiber optic, and they go through really smooth. But your nerves in your shoulder is about the size of your pinky, and the nerves that go through end up going through your lower back are almost the size of your thumb.
Really?
So people, a lot of times, they don't understand. We're wired with coax cable, like an old network system, and our brain is the fiber optic. So the bones basically calcify around the nerve. So the hole that they go through in the skeletal structure actually shrinks, and it ends up where your nerve is like the cable on a 10-speed bike. When one gets frayed and it doesn't slide back through the way it's supposed to when your brake hangs up. Well, that's what happens to your nerves when you have spinal stenosis, and that's what causes that sharp pain. Is that nerve is inflamed just like an open toothache.
Wow.
So just like that.
I gotta go for an MRI Thursday. It doesn't thrill me at anything, but there's a commercial on TV that I've seen, and I'm sure you have too. But it kind of you have these three big muscle men, and this other little guy who's trying to work out, but they're all bragging and all this, and then he ends up going to someplace else, and you come to the right place because we're not building whatever. You have people like that come there. I mean, they think that they are right there, and then you have those others who are just trying to work out and try to.
Well, it's like with everything else. There's different levels of fitness, right? So someone new who's and some people want to just stay cardio fit. They say I'm a big natural fit guy, right? Then you have people who will add substances to their body to make them bigger. Like those guys raise their testosterone levels so they build more muscle, which is really unhealthy for you down the road.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's the type of guys you're talking about are like professional wrestling looking guys. And if you were to go through the history, and this is what I do for a lot of young guys because they come up with this question on what should I do, steroids, should I not do steroids? They have all these anabolic products out there, and I always say, well, let's look at how many of the old wrestlers who looked great for 10, 15 years, but now are no longer with us. And after going through a pretty long list of the bad results of drug use, it's pretty convincing that they can do it with diet and by working hard versus by trying to take a shortcut because it's an unhealthy death. So you have that, and it's pretty prevalent in the sport. So.
Well, and you look at football, and of course Gronkowski there with all the injuries he's had. With his knee surgeries and all that.
Well, and then they have it in Major League Baseball was a big issue. But they play 180 games, 185 games a year. So the recovery of trying to play to your utmost, if anyone is athletic, to try to play to that level every single day and then to be able to recover, you could see why they would want some recovery tools. And with the money that they're making, you don't want to be missing things. So, I mean, I understand that the hard drive of temptation and looks and all that kind of stuff. We all have temptations in life, but I would have to say, as far as your health goes, that's one of your worst temptations to look healthy because you really won't be. So, and that's what I've found. But I've been lifting. But I think I had my first weight set when I was 15.
Really?
The old flag. That's why I always say, that's what I read in the Sears manual, because that's what I used to have was the red, white, and blue Sears set.
Sure.
So, and I always laugh. I had to have some time off because of this, but I've always been pretty active as far as exercise and doing weights. In fact, when I was a kid, before I had my first set of weights, I took the tires off my uncle's lawnmower, cut the rubber off so I could run a cable rope so I could pull on it to make myself stronger.
Oh, for goodness sakes. Wow.
So it's always been a piece of...
Well, in school, when I was at Runlet, I mean, it was... I was never athletic minded. I couldn't play sports because we lived out here on the Heights on East Sugar Ball where we were near nobody.
Nobody lived.
And back those days, we weren't allowed to go to the playground or park, something. So we basically were home. But when you got to junior high school, you get together with all these supposedly jocks, and it was terrible. You were made fun of because you couldn't dribble a basketball. You were made fun of because you couldn't climb that rope and hit the board up on top there. It was tough, and I used to do weightlifting a lot in junior high school because in the winter time, they would have weightlifting set up in the weight room, and you could all go out doors or do something else. I just went there and did weights because I enjoyed that. But I'm telling you, it's tough because when you're not in those days, because I was much thinner, and of course I'm thinner now than I was a few years ago because I had the bariatric surgery up to Hanover. But it's tough because you want to be like somebody else who's strong and stuff, but then you just can't get there.
Well, yeah, and genetics has a lot to do with that, and environment. As far as athletic environment. My dad, he worked all the time. Right? But I grew up on Canterbury Road across the street from the park, right? So he asked me, he goes, "How'd you get athletic?" I'm like, "Dad, we live across the street from a park. As a kid, you don't have any choice to be athletic if you live across the street from the park." I said, "That's what you do." So he laughs. He's like, "Oh," he goes, "I work so much, I didn't really have time to go see you play games and stuff like that." And he grew up in Colebrook, farming, right? So he had the same deal as you. Not a lot of kids around to play sports with, stuff like that. But he loves to come to my gym. He's had a double knee replacement, and he comes and he works out. And he used to have like the springs and the little hand grip things.
Yeah, I remember those. Yep.
So he'd have those, and we'd do them in the cellar. So he'd encourage me to be stronger when I was young. And he'd bring me to work at his sawmill out in Warner, and that was always good for me because I learned to be strong. But I had the same effect there because those guys were strong and they were kind of roughnecks.
Oh yeah.
And they would make fun of me because I didn't know how to do any of the redneck stuff. So.
Where were you on Canterbury Road? When did you live on the Heights?
I moved up the Heights when they made it 2 lanes wide. I would have to say.
That was back in.
Was 1978.
I was going to say that was probably in the late 70s.
Yeah, the late 70s. I was in the first full class at Broken Ground.
Were you really?
Yeah, with like Amy Ireland. And all those.
For goodness sake.
Yeah. So.
Well, whose house on Canterbury Road you live in though? It used to be the Cologne family.
We had the Cologne.
They had the Hammers at first. Oh goodness, they were Selma Hammer there, Ernest Hammer, and then you had the Cologne house. Then you had Chase Street. Then the next house was where Dick's Barbershop, the owner there.
Dick's, Dick's. Yeah, before that it was the DeAngelis who lived down on Wilson Ave, and Sharon used to be my babysitter. She was one of my kids' teachers. Yeah, so it's so funny the way community around here ties together.
Then Percy Lister was the house on the corner of Dudley Drive until they built that other house in there.
Right.
Him and Althea.
Althea, yeah. And they had the little pool out back.
And then you went on the other side of
and
Dudley Drive.
And then you keep going to Dudley Drive. You have the White House.
You had Goldie Lugg who owned that house until they moved over to Airport Road.
Right. And then we lived in a house with the pine trees.
That was
planted.
Years ago. That was Knowlton's. That was Knowlton's. And then Colby. Oh dear. Gloria Colby was her mother, but I can't think of her name now. So that's where you.
Yep. So then you had the Gambles.
Yeah.
And the Wimsats.
Yeah.
So, so it was a great little. They had the Mollikers and the Langevins and the Burbys. So it was a great little neighborhood for us kids, right, to grow up in. Yeah. And we'd play Hogan's Heroes in the Bob houses, right?
Yeah, never knew. Isn't that right?
Yeah. So it was a great little neighborhood.
They had that little where the Heights Community Center was. That parking lot used to be an ice skating rink.
And when they built the community center, they had it dug up on the first day of school, and I think 3 or 4 of us boys got a little spanking for having a little mud ball fight with.
You were a little devil.
Well, yeah, the Heights boys were always a little known for our devilsness. So.
Well, there was certain true, yes. Yeah, so back those days, I remember the Michaels, Andy Michaels and his brothers there, his twin brother. They're older than you, but there was that group of there, and of course the Savoys over there, and Steve Chaban, and there was a whole. That was my guys that when I was in school they were, and that part of the Heights has not changed too much at all. You know, when you look back.
Yeah, I was when I had ran for city council, I don't know, like a decade ago.
You did?
Yeah, against Dr. Black and Dan St. Hilaire.
Oh, you must have went for at large then.
Yeah, at large, yeah. And I was amazed at how many of my old neighbors had still lived in the same houses and how welcome and warm they were. Yep. In fact, I went home, I probably had too many cookies for a gym guy that day, but I thought everyone remembered that I did like my cookies.
See, I was born on the Heights, and I've lived here all my life. I've never moved off the Heights at all. My wife came from Woodsville, but, you know, I've always lived here on the Heights, and I loved it. Of course, back then it was the Plains.
Yeah.
The Concord Plains.
Plains.
Before that was the Dark Plains, and before that was Burglar's Island. But it's always been home over here to me on this area, and I love the Heights, but now it changes. It's just ridiculous.
Well, it's a vast community change.
Well, then you must remember then Frank and Bob's Market there, or Toll's Market on Mountain Road, which I worked at Toll's.
Did you? I remember all the way back to like when they built Pizza Hut.
Yeah, that's when Clark's store was in there. The mother and daughter who owned that little store.
And
Foshes.
we used to, we'd pick up we'd pick up the papers in the neighborhood, and our moms would give us a quarter to go get a dilly bar or whatever at Dairy Queen. So that was around. Burger King wasn't there yet. That was all like woods and.
Well, Burger King, of course, was right there. Initially, where CVS sits now, was Longley's store, and then when Longley sold out, Atlantic Richfield built a gas station in there. It was called Arco. And the Longley house was where Burger King now sits. That's down on East Side Drive, almost near Kingdom Hall down there. It sits overlooking the bank there. But yeah, that was quite a little corner. Arco, you had remember the red ball you could put on top of your antenna there? Everybody had to get them.
And they had green stamps and stuff back then too.
Yes. My grandmother collected green stamps and gold bond stamps.
Oh, I didn't know about those.
Gold bond stamps for a different outfit, but you had all these little magazines. You could buy things with the gold bond. They were on Main Street, but green stamps were down on South Street, South and Clinton, down that area, Broadway.
So it was.
You're quite an old time. I didn't realize you were such an old timer up here.
Well, that's why I like Concord. I lived out in Canterbury when they made it 2 lanes, a big exodus. You know, they had Wilson Ave and all that became neighborhoods.
That was down the south end.
Down the south end.
Yeah.
So people moved different places. I didn't know what was happening to me. I thought it was terrible. My first week in Canterbury, some lady asked me to help pull a cow out of a swamp. I'd never done anything like that.
Well, that would give you some muscle then.
Well, but she made me a nice pie, so it was good.
Nice pie. What was it, a Guernsey cow or a Holstein?
It was Holstein, just, some old cow, so it was funny. And then my dad bought into a mill over in Warner, so we lived over there for a while. But I've always come back to Concord.
Yeah.
I really like Concord. I used to come back roller skating. I'd bring my friends from Warner down to Fun Spot and do that stuff. So I've always been active in the community. And I go to the Concord High, reunions.
Well, let's see if you've got a memory now. We've been the first show, Paul and I were talking, and Ian and I, before even the show started, what was the name of the restaurant that Newark's has now? all I can think of was Sloppy Joe's. That wasn't it, obviously, but it was something. They had
pulled
pulled
pork.
pork.
Is there? Yeah.
Yeah, where Newark's is now. What was the name of that restaurant that was in there?
Oh, it's that barbecue place.
Pulled pork was their thing. I know on the menu you could get that, and it was like a Western type.
Yeah.
But
not
I
the Longhorn. No, was it the Longhorn?
No, I cannot think of it. It had like a couple of words together in there, and I can't think of it. I've sat here with Ian, and Ian says you'll remember it when you're in the middle of your show with somebody.
Oh, you will too. Yeah. That's gonna drive. Now you can
drive me nuts. But anyway, but yeah, even Hall Street though. When you look at Hall Street, remember down there, First National was the big store there, right in the intersection. Hall Street, Water Street. You know, Howard Johnson's was across the road where the Common Man was.
And then A&W's down
there was a car shop. I think it was Grapponi sold cars down in there
where the detail places.
Yeah, there used to be a record shop in there too. It sold albums and all that stuff, 8-tracks. And then Kentucky Fried, and then you went down Hall Street some more, and actually that was not a real traveled street. But
no, in my youth it wasn't at all. You had the Mounds used to live down there. You had some good athletes from down Hall Street and stuff.
And then we'd hear the train coming up through there, and
they still have the Sandwich Depot, the old train station.
The old train station. But I'm waiting for them to bring passenger train service back here, but I don't think we're going to see it for a while.
I don't think we'll probably.
Manchester and Nashua, I think, will get it before Concord.
Well, they've been working at it for quite a while on that whole revival of that.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not going to go up north because they've turned all those rail systems into those happy trails.
Now, do you remember a sport called the roller derby?
Yes.
Now, did you go to the Everett Arena one night when they came here, the Bombers against the Braves and all that?
I've seen the new lady roller derbies, but I haven't seen them in the old days.
This was in 1971, I think, or 1970. They came here for 2 games at the Everett Arena. And you remind me, and I've been thinking about this all during the show. If you watched the roller derby, the old roller derby, there was a skater by the name of Bob, the Bald Eagle Hines. If you take your hat off, I'm sure I'm going to see a bald head up there. Yeah,
you are.
And your facial expression, when you were sitting there, I said, boy, if that isn't that skater, put him on skates, and he's almost a replica of Bob Hines. But
well, then I got to say, I did like the roller skates. So
yeah, well, I got on skates once. I couldn't even get across the rink. Went down to Bedford one night.
Oh,
tried to roller skate. I couldn't even get across the. Guy says, you got to get off. I said, yes, I'm trying. Oh, I was so mad. That was in 72, I think it was, or 71. But anyway, no, it's good that you're doing it. How many trainers do you have with you?
I just train myself, my own shop.
Oh, you don't have anybody working with you?
No, I've tried to have various trainers. Brian's one-to-one that started with me, and he's off on his own shop now. Yeah. And he's been doing well. But as far as bringing in other trainers, I've tried to bring some aboard.
Yeah.
But the problem is with the younger guys, because I have kind of a specialty business with injuries and rehabilitation.
Yeah, I know.
They think everybody wants to train like the muscle guys.
Yeah, yeah.
And that doesn't balance out very well. So to try to teach them that, if you need to, it's personal training.
Yeah.
It's for the individual person for their goals and not what you think their goals should be.
That's good though.
And that's where, I'll train. I'll always, when someone comes in new, I take them there with me until they learn all the equipment and what the exercises are, and we get to know their personality. But then I insert them into a group of like personalities and like fitness, so that they enjoy coming and they can have conversations about what's going on and stuff like that. So then you get the social engagement of fitnesses too, and they look forward to it. And it's been great for my retention. I've actually been training my second client, who's now my first client because the first one moved away, for almost 20 years, 19 and a half
Right.
years. So,
Well, we're coming to a close around town. I got exactly 20 seconds left before that buzzer goes off. But it has been a true pleasure talking to you, Rob, and having you come in. And I am hoping we'll get you here again on the show. And it's been fun. So
it's terrific.
By all means, if you're looking for you're getting fitness or whatever, give Rob a call down Executive Wellness down on Hall Street, and he'll get you in shape. There you go. There's my bell. So, with that in mind, what's the phone number they can call you down there?
You can call me at 545-5072, and we also have a Facebook page with plenty of pictures on it, so they can view the facility.
Yeah, great. Good, Bob. So. With that in mind, Rob, we will hopefully see you soon. If not, at the Kiwanis Fair in May, and cooking those burgers maybe, or doing something down there. But like a car show in September. But so with that in mind, thank you to Ian Marks, my great director there, and we hope to see you soon. This is Dick Patten on Around Town.